Would you mind telling us a little bit about the steps that has been formulated when you say…
So we are basically offering a basic program called Isha Yoga, which is 7 days intensive here, which includes 2 full days, and 7 evenings and 2 full days. Different places definitely have different influences, but the whole science of yoga is just that, to go beyond the external influences. Fundamentally, I am offering this science to people as a way of becoming a masters of their own destiny. So what vibrations are around you, what kind of people are around you, what traditions you come from is immaterial. If you are willing to do certain things with yourself, you can become a master of your own destiny. So we are doing programs in the prisons, in all the prisons, in all the central prisons in Tamil Nadu. Plus we are doing here also in Pennsylvania and Kentucky states. Now, we don't depend on what kind of vibrations are there, what kind of people. Somebody is a hardcore criminal, somebody is a wonderful man. It doesn't matter, because it is applied as a science. Whoever you are, it works the same way. Whatever kind of place it is, we can make it work. It doesn't matter what kind of place we are in.
Now going back to the Shunya meditation, or what did you call Shunya Samadhi?
Shoonya. Shoonya meditation.
Shunya meditation. So the word Shunya itself suggests some kind of
Shunya means emptiness.
Emptiness. Right. And I just wanted to add, coming from the appreciation of spirituality from a traditional viewpoint, do you make use of some mantras, or what way they are guided?
See, meditation is not something that you do. First of all, the English word meditation doesn't mean anything, first of all.
Right.
Because if you sit with your eyes closed, it's considered meditation. With your eyes closed, you could be doing so many dharana, dhyana, samadhi, pratyahara,
Right.
There are many things you could be doing. So, just sitting with eyes closed doesn't mean anything. People might have just mastered the art of sleeping in vertical postures. So Shunya means it's the art of doing nothing. We're teaching people how to do nothing really. It's a way of creating a space between you and the body. See, it doesn't matter how many teachings go into you, but still life situations will overpower you and overwhelm you as long as you're part of the mind and body. If at all, if any suffering has entered you, the only kind of suffering that you know is, it has either entered you through the body or through the mind. So Shunya is a state where if you sit down, you get disidentified with the process that you refer to as body and the you refer to as mind. Once you establish this state of not being identified either with the body or mind, once you create a space between you and that, this is the end of suffering. Because all the suffering is either manufactured in your mind or in your body. Once there is a space, there is no such thing as suffering for that person. Shunya means emptiness. Who wants emptiness of all the things in the world? Everybody wants fullness, right? But this needs to be looked at with more depth. Now, in every religion, God is being referred to as all-pervading, isn't it? The only thing that is truly all-pervading is nothingness. Anything that is something has a beginning and an end, both time-wise and space-wise. The only thing that is truly all-pervading is emptiness. It is just that people out of their ignorance are always afraid of emptiness. Emptiness is darkness. Always, I know people have always symbolized divine as light. You can't imagine calling divine darkness.
Right.
Divine light it is always. But the nature of light is so limited. See, even if whatever source of light the light is coming from, whether it is from these lights or from the sunlight, which is the biggest source of light we know right now, with just my palm, up that light and leave a shadow of darkness behind me, behind that, isn't it? So light is very limited happening. It's a small happening. It's a brief happening in the existence. But darkness is always eternal and all-pervading.
Now here, there is a confusion. When people say darkness, they carry certain images with darkness. When you are saying darkness, probably you do not carry similar images.
Why I am saying this is, so people are approaching everything with a certain sense of fear and insecurity. But you tell me, life is a brief happening. Whether it's the light bulb here, it has a certain lifespan, the sun also has a certain lifespan, and all the stars have a certain lifespan. Does darkness have a lifespan? It's eternal, isn't it?
I don't know.
Darkness is eternal, isn't it?
I'm not eternal, I don't know whether darkness is eternal.
No, what I'm saying is, the absence of light is darkness, isn't it?
Absence of light is darkness.
Yes. Light can happen and go. Can darkness go away? If everything goes away, darkness is, isn't it? It is in the lap of that emptiness that creation is happening. Today modern science is proving to you that everything comes from nothing and goes back to nothing. Now your religions have always been saying everything comes from the Creator. The only thing which fits the description of the Creator is darkness and emptiness. But the nature of ignorance is such that darkness means everybody is afraid.
Right.
Because the very reason why they're seeking God is not because they want to know the Creator. They're seeking God because they're afraid of creation. When fear is the basis of what your seeking will never lead to fulfillment. People have become God-fearing, not God-loving, unfortunately. So when a person is on the spiritual path, when we say he is on the spiritual path, he is not seeking because he is afraid of life. He is seeking the divine because he has fallen in love with life, he has fallen in love with the creation. Now he wants to know what is the Creator. He has seen the beauty of creation, now he wants to know that which should be even more beautiful to create this. So he is looking for the source of creation. He is not looking at it because he is seeking security or shelter. So when he is seeking like that, in yoga, for an ignorant person, we always describe the divine as light. For an advanced yogi, divine is always described as darkness.
For more videos, please subscribe. Press bell icon and never miss an update.
People who have, if they talk about sharing, that would be beautiful. When one is overfed and another is hungry, I call that a disaster. Good morning, everyone. So, it's to be about wealth and well-being. Wealth could be well-being, but not necessarily so. Wealth is one of the basic ingredients which is necessary to create well-being. It's a very essential ingredient. But when a society or a nation goes through a spurt of wealth-making, people who are in the right places get to make use of it the best, but many others who do not happen to be in the right places will be left out. So when there is a spurt of wealth-making happening in any society, it inevitably tends to lead towards huge disparities. When you try to marry hunger and Mercedes-Benz, you're asking for trouble. These disparities could essentially lead to conflict. And this conflict usually gets labeled as communism. Have-nots, people who do not have anything start talking about sharing, which is ugly. People who have, if they talk about sharing, that would be beautiful. People who do not have anything to share talk about sharing, and that usually gets labeled as communism. But you can only make people who have to talk about sharing when there is consciousness. And consciousness is always inclusive in nature. In physicality, you and me are separate. If I think with the limitations of my body, I'm separate, you're separate. My well-being is separate, your well-being is separate. So naturally I tend to look at this, not at that. Consciousness is a dimension which is naturally inclusive. So along with wealth making, if inclusiveness is not brought in, it could lead to disastrous situations for any given society. Disasters, not necessarily because the crime and violence and discontent that it can breed. Disasters just because of the disparity. When one is overfed and another is hungry, I call that a disaster. When one is suffering hunger and another is suffering indigestion, I call that a disaster. So without the necessary consciousness of inclusiveness, wealth making could become disastrous. I hope we as a nation don't make that mistake. It cannot be leveled by some administration by passing laws. Okay, instead of paying 30% tax, you pay 90% tax. It's not going to work, you'll turn the whole society into criminals. It's only going to happen when we bring a certain spiritual ethos into the society. When I say spiritual, I'm not talking about following this religion or that religion. I'm talking about every human being in touch with something beyond his physical limitations will naturally bring inclusiveness into his way of existence. Without this inclusiveness, wealth making could bring more problems than solutions. So I hope we'll have the necessary humanity, wisdom and the necessary awareness to balance these two things so that wealth will lead to well-being, not to disastrous situations for ourselves and for others.
For more videos, please subscribe. Press bell icon and never miss an update.